Hello, everyone. I'm Greg McMillan, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. And this time we are talking about the just freshly finished iPhone 13 event. We'll call it the iPhone 13 event because that's the most important part for us and probably most of you who are listening. So I am joined by my esteemed co-hosts, plural, Dave Podner.
Hey, Greg. Uh, just survived a little bit frantic, but kind of music heavy with the event going on there.
Yeah. And we also have our newly added co-host, David Addison, who has the David Addison Show on the iPhoneography podcast. Hello, David.
Hi, Greg. Hi, fellow Dave. How's it going? Did you enjoy the Apple iPhone 13 event?
Go ahead, Dave. You had some words about it you were going to say.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed it, and honestly, Apple's gotten to the point, and I think we all agree with this. If you bought a new phone last year, unless you're on an upgrade program or something happened to your phone, which if honestly, get Apple Care. There's no reason to get a 13 if you have a 12. There's nice little tweaks, but they packed a lot into under an hour and a half.
It was very dense, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they're doing that with these virtual events. Is that they have two new iPads and pretty big upgrade to the iPads. The Apple Watch, not a major update, minor there. Fitness Plus, minor updates. And with the we'll call it two new iPhones with the 13 regular and the 13 Pro. We all kind of remember when these things went like 2.5 hours, definitely 2 hours easy, just because of all the onstage demos and everything else. Now it's like, okay, we're done in 80 minutes.
Yeah, it felt quick to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no, audience applause and cheers and all that stuff to get in the way either, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, it's I was happy to see what they've got for these new iPhones, and you're right on the money there, Dave. I have the 12 Pro Max, and there was nothing really compelling enough for me to want to upgrade. And I mean, the other thing is that these things are so expensive for us here in Canada, just with the exchange and everything else. So I'm going to stay with my 12 Pro Max, and okay, so we'll get into more of that later as to why I'm staying too. But okay, so let's just kind of go over a few quick things here about these new iPhones. There is a new iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini. And I'm hearing that this could be the last year of the mini, but they never alluded to that at all. Okay, so there was some rumors and all this stuff about the way these are going to look and whatnot. And some of them were bang on the money. With the 13 and the 13 mini, the cameras are now diagonally offset instead of one above the other. And
they always seem to be bang on the money these days, don't they?
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to get them wrong. Now the 13 and the 13 mini have sensor shift stabilization on the wide angle camera. Now I don't know. I didn't catch if they had it on the ultra wide.
Let me double check. I thought they did, but we'll see what we can find since we're just finishing now. Let's see here. And Molly's telling right now. Well, like I said, we don't have the full information, but the wide is definitely a big improvement over the 13.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has a I got my notes here. They're scattered. Okay, so the wide has an f1.6 aperture. That's really good. It's going to allow for shorter capture times or like faster shutter speeds. 1.7 micro unit pixels or whatever they are.
Microns.
So the or microns, whatever it is. But
that's really good. That you should see some big differences there in the quality of your photos.
Yeah, for sure. The ultra wide on the 13 and the 13 mini has an f2.4 aperture, which is
that's the same as last year, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
There's no difference, I don't think. I was paying attention, but they didn't even mention it, did they? Did they flash a graphic up? Because I didn't hear anything. I've got a question mark in my notes about ultra wide.
They showed a graphic where it had f2.4.
Right.
Other than that, I don't know what else they really said too much about it.
I just pulled up the Apple site here. Yeah, and the ultra wide is only a 5-element lens. It does not have sensor shift. That's only on the wide.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's f2.4 and 120-degree field of view.
Okay, cool.
So it looks like they didn't do much with the ultra wide this year compared to last.
Yeah.
The sort of people who are going to go for the mini and the regular 13, I would count them as though they're the sort of people who are going to want the wider. They're taking pictures at parties and group events and weddings and stuff like that. And I would imagine more of an emphasis on the ultra wide camera. But what do I know? They obviously know better than me what people want.
Yeah. So okay, excuse me, the big change, I think the biggest change is in video. I called it portrait mode video when I kind of made my prediction, but what they're calling it cinematic mode, and it's basically what I thought it would be, where the background is softer, more bokeh. Okay, let's see here. The focus changes. Was that Dave?
When I would say, Greg, when you mentioned about that, it's more than, it sounds like more than just that. And this is true for the non-pro and the pro with the cinematic, which is nice. They're not limiting only to pro, but it sounds like you can do after the fact focus change on video, which is kind of mind blowing. You can, shoot the photo and shoot your video and then say, oh, I want to switch from foreground to background. And then in editing, it has all the depth information. And with the machine learning, where it's supposed to be able to figure out where you want to focus at automatically, which that'll be interesting to try out.
Well, it does the facial recognition, I guess, right? So if you have a person in the foreground and they're looking at the camera, it's going to pick up them. And then if they happen to turn, like they showed in the keynote, if they turn their face or turn their head away from the camera and there's another person in the background, then it's going to automatically pick them up. But you can override that, of course, with by long pressing on the screen or whatever to select the one you want to keep or whatever. It'll even pick up a pet. Like if there's a dog and you look away and then there's a dog on the screen, it's going to pick up the dog's face and focus on that. I'm sure there's probably other things that it's going to be capable of doing too, but and it has tracking lock. So if you're moving through the frame and it's got you in focus, it's going to track where you are and all that stuff. So pretty cool stuff.
It's not new. Apps have been doing this for a couple of years. There's an app called Focus Live. The Focus app for photos? Focus Live has been doing this for... I haven't made a video on my channel, but I have used it a little bit, and it looks pretty much exactly the same. But of course, Apple will be able to... I'm predicting they're going to be able to do it better, because obviously they can tap into the hardware more. They have more access to, with their own APIs and stuff. But this facial tracking thing, that's not in Focus Live, so that should be pretty cool. But who's going to use this? Are the Filmic Pro crowd going to be going back to the stock camera for this? Will Apple release an API for this so the likes of Filmic Pro can access it? Probably not. So let's see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I first saw this and when I first thought of this whole portrait video thing, I thought of the guys at Focus, and I thought, they're probably thinking, well, Sherlocked again, because they had basically portrait mode before the iPhone had it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, those guys are fantastic at what they do, and I've tried Focus Live. I haven't tried it recently. I'd like to give it another try and just to see how it works. Maybe it's improved, but like you say, I don't think anybody's going to do it as well as Apple does, because Apple, right? So,
what did you think of the quality? Were you watching their professional high-end example video where they used it? There was one particular shot. There was a few shots actually, but one stood out to me where the woman is right by the window, and you can see that portrait mode, that fringing, that halo effect, and it didn't, even on their super duper perfect example video that's meant to sell it, it didn't look perfect to me. What did you guys think of the quality of the effect?
Dave?
Well, to be honest, I was actually viewing it on my phone.
Right.
So I was viewing it on a 5.8 inch screen. So details like that would get lost on me viewing it versus a much larger screen. But honestly, I can see in terms of who would be interested in this, not necessarily professionals, but I can see people doing things for even something like a community theater or a local community group, where you don't have budget for bringing in a videographer or doing high-end editing, or someone may not even own a decent video camera. They could use their phone for this.
Yeah, I could see Joseph Ferreira getting something like this, Dave, for all the work he does for his church. Like, he does a lot of video work for his church. So he might be seriously looking at this. But I did pick up on that scene, David, where it got a little soft near the back of the person's head, and even in the little vignette where they showed the whodunit scene, when it was shifting from foreground focus to background focus, I seen some changes there. Like, there was one scene where there was a woman standing in the background, and when the focus shifted from her to the guy in the foreground again, you could really see where things, kind of, they didn't go amok or nothing. Like, they didn't go wrong, but you could just tell that it was computational. It was not optical.
I want to go back and watch it and see if anyone was wearing glasses, because whenever I'm taking a portrait mode photo, these things have got to come off straight away, because you get that missing bit,
and the LiDAR on the 12 Pros have really improved that, but it's not perfect yet.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see.
And when we say not perfect, it's a polite way of saying not good, or not as good as they are touting it to be, which is anything ever, really. Because according to my notes, everything's game changing. Everything's the best,
the best ever,
the best ever. And there's one feature in particular where I've just put "get in the bin" next to it, which when you get to it, I'll let you know which one it is.
Did you notice though that when they kept saying, 30% better than, 30% better than, it wasn't 30% better or faster or whatever than last year's iPhone. It was always better than the competitor.
Competition, yeah.
They've been doing that for the past couple of years. It's not gone unnoticed, has it?
Yeah.
Who is this magical competitor? I want to know.
Yeah.
Just say the name, man. Come on, put your money where your mouth is.
Well, not only that, but 30%, when you say 30% better, you need to tell me what you're measuring.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You're not really, I need to know what you're measuring is 30% better.
Because are you measuring the CPU, the efficiency cores? What are you
Well, not only that, but are you using, let's say, Geekbench, or what are you,
Yeah,
it's
what
like
tool are
saying,
you using to
yeah, it's
measure?
like someone's 30% faster than their competition. Well, uh, if it's, a car, is it 0 to 60 mph, or is it 0 to 30? Is it other range? Is it over a particular distance? Of course,
Mhm.
Apple does this, and they'll, this is the best selling iPhone ever. This is, but they don't give you numbers anymore.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's something, unfortunately, they do now. But I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that, it is, I hate to say it, but at this point, the iPhone is the fastest computational phone out there. No matter what comes out, it's going to be the fastest phone. Just because of how they do their chips, and the fact that their chip people can talk to the software people, can talk to the other hardware people, and get full integration, where Android just can't do that, outside of maybe the Pixel phone, which is the closest thing that actually has full integration.
Yeah, that's right. So not much difference really excuse me, between the 12 or 12, between the 13 and the 13 mini, other than obviously the size.
Yeah.
I believe the cameras are the same.
Everything's the exact same thing, which is nice. You're not getting penalized if you want the smaller phone.
And they start at 128 gigabytes. So they have the 128, 512, and the 256 in between.
Yeah.
Did you guys, either of you guys, catch the starting price of the mini? I got the 13 at $699 US.
Let me bring it up here.
I think it was $499.
Let's see here. iPhone 13.
I've got from $699 here.
Okay, view pricing.
Yeah, it's from $699 US.
Yeah, $699 is the mini. $790.
Okay?
Yeah, $799 is the 6.1 inch screen.
Okay, all right, thanks.
But you're basically getting the 12 Pro's camera this year in the mini, because it's that 1.6 aperture, 47% more light, and all that sort of stuff. So that's a good upgrade if you're rocking even the 12 mini. That 1.6, and for me, the biggest upgrades are always to the old-fashioned optical systems. It's never the computational stuff for me. This I'm most excited about the new 1.5 wide lens on the Pro series with those 1.9 micron pixels. That, for me, that's the only thing that I really pay attention to.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that the like I said, when we get to the Pro, then they have had a good amount of jump on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's jump to the Pro now.
Okay.
Because a lot of the stuff on the Pro, there's some of it on the 13 and the mini. So Sierra Blue is the new blue color, which is it looks like my blue iMac. It's not like it's a nice color, but it's just a little too light blue for me. So if I did go up to the 13 Pro Max, which I'm not going to, but if I was going to, I would probably get the graphite. It just that blue is just a little too light blue for me. But smaller notch, so they've condensed things on that notch a little bit, but that's pretty much
that's across the board.
Yeah, and that was also a pretty good prediction by the leakers.
Yeah. Now I did see someone say the notch is narrower, but just a tidge higher.
Oh,
just a tidge. You probably won't notice it, and it's probably one of those but it is a tidge higher.
Yeah.
Which really shouldn't impact anything, because honestly, I don't notice the notch anymore.
I know. Me neither. Like within a week of having my iPhone XS Max, I didn't even notice it was there that much. So in the Pro lines, you got the Sierra Blue, graphite, silver, gold, smaller notch, ProMotion display, which is really cool. it helps with battery life, because if the content on the screen doesn't need a fast refresh rate, it'll slow it down as low as 10 hertz, which is really going to save your battery.
Yeah.
Something that was missing that a lot of people were saying, looking at the what do you call it? I call it the invite graphic or whatever for the presentation, was always on display. Nope, not happening.
No.
And maybe next year, who knows? But 6.1 inch, 6.7 inch, I think those are the same sizes, are they not?
Yeah, I think the externals are basically the same.
Yeah, the only big difference there is going to be the camera array. It's going to be larger. So if you upgrade from a 12 Pro to a 13 Pro, your case is not going to fit. So so let's get to the meat and potatoes of all this. The camera system on the 13 Pro and Pro Max. You know what? They took a really, really big step backwards with the telephoto.
You think so?
You mean with the going to 2.8?
It goes from a 2.2 or it's a 2.0 on the 12 Pro, 2.2 on the 12 Pro Max, and then went back to a 2.8 on the 13 Pro and Pro Max. And that, to me, is just a kick in the groin.
Am I missing something here? Could you say that again? You said it's going backwards.
Well, to me, I think it's going backwards in quality, because you're getting a smaller aperture. You're getting an f2.8 aperture.
Yeah,
I must have missed the aperture.
I missed it too, but
I was so excited. I just missed it completely.
The Hell-Eyed guys put on Twitter a graphic of, you can see this without.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it was okay. So here's the stats on the three cameras. Telephoto is a 77 millimeter focal length, 3 times optical zoom. That's impressive. That's an improvement. But f.28 or f2.8 aperture, going from 2 and 2.2 back to 2.8 that's not good. That's not cool, Apple. Ultra wide, that's really improved. 13 millimeter focal length. I think that's the same. It went from an f2.4, I think, to f1.8. So that is a massive improvement for the ultra wide.
Yeah.
And then the wide is 26 millimeter focal length, which is the same as last year. 1.9 micron pixels and f1.5 aperture.
I can't wait to take some comparison shots and just see how much cleaner my raw files look with those 1.9 and the f1.5.
Yeah,
but you're right with the telephoto. You got that zoom. This is definitely not aimed at the professional market or people like us. This is more for your casual. Will the casual photographer notice the difference? Maybe they will. I didn't realize about the aperture, how it was smaller.
Yeah. So when I was looking at getting the 12 Pro or the 12 Pro Max, I was looking at those two camera systems because they are different. The 12 Pro is f2.0, but it's only a 2 times zoom. The 12 Pro Max is a 2.5 times zoom, and it's an f2.2, so slightly smaller aperture. And then the selling point for me was the sensor shift on the 12 Pro Max. I think that was on the wide camera. That was the deal maker for me, I think. So, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how, with the processing and all that stuff that these things do, how the f2.8 aperture will show.
The only thing I could think of, unless they're trying to rely more on the computational, trying to make it sharper and bring in, for the light reasons, that they're trying to get that zoom. because there's still a matter of sometimes you just can't get closer. I know the best zoom is getting physically closer, but sometimes you can't get closer. So I think that they're seeing Android phones coming out with these massive zoom abilities. And if they're stuck in, 2.5, but it also could be supply. Remember, Apple doesn't make the cameras, the physical camera. So it's a matter of they may go to Sony, which I think where they get it from, and say, what do you have for us for Zoom? And they say, well, we don't make a 2.5. We make the 3 with this, or we make the 2 with this. And this is what we have right now.
Yeah, and if you want that larger aperture, you're going to have to make that camera module so much wider. That's what I was going to say before. And this is where we start to hit the limitations of physics. Because, guys, we'll throw in that 1.8 aperture on a telephoto, but your camera bump's going to be like this big and this wide, and you may as well go out and buy a mirrorless camera at this point
if it starts getting bigger.
If it starts getting too big. But can I? In fact, no. I was going to jump ahead to my get in the bin feature, but I suppose we have to cover the ultra wide. I think this ultra wide. I've been ragging on the ultra wide on my YouTube channel for the past few videos for good reason. But now that macro feature looks pretty cool. Greg, you're the macro guy. You're Macro Macmillan. What did you think of that, dude?
It was impressive. So they've done something to allow you to get, what was it? I think 2 centimeters away for a minimum focus distance.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That is really good for not having an additional lens put on. And I'm going to have to go back to the website and look closer at the images that they have for that. Stupid me, I was writing stuff down as some of these things were going across the screen, and I think the only thing I saw was a leaf, and it's pretty much what I would get even with my moment lens on the wide angle camera, that kind of view. So it was pretty interesting. We'll see how it looks.
Yeah, I'm looking at an image now. The best shot is of this. It's like a red, I don't know what flowers are, red flower with yellow flower in the middle. It looks really cool. I'm looking forward to trying that out. I don't know if it's and they also demonstrated this ultra wide macro video as well, which looked really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and all 3 cameras have night mode now.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
I didn't realize they didn't. I'm supposed to be the iPhone guy.
I think the ultra wide was the only one that didn't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the ultra wide was just, like you said, David, not as good last year. And it sounds like that's where they put a lot of their resources, to the ultra wide. And like I said, the telephoto, we'll see how it turns out in terms of, will the telephoto be, it's not really good for if it's that dark, or are they really going to crank on the computational photography to bring that up to snuff?
Yeah. It's only, they'll never reveal anything like that in their presentation. They'll just tell you it's the best thing ever. So I'm looking forward to actually trying it out myself. But this Smart HDR4 is looking pretty cool. I'm not into this computational stuff, but they do a lot of impressive stuff with this tone mapping. And this appears to be the next generation of Smart HDR4. They should make this API available to developers. They always do. So you should see that in your third-party camera apps as well on the iPhone 13. Is Smart HDR4 coming to all the cameras, all the phones?
Yeah, it'll be. I would imagine.
I'm sure they said it was
the 13s, but what's that, Dave?
I'm sure they said it was coming to all the new 13 models.
Oh yeah, it'll be all the 13s. Yeah, I thought maybe you were wondering if it would bounce back into the 12s or whatever, but no, it'll be definitely all the 13s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Smart HDR3 was in all the 12s.
Yeah, so that looks really cool for not even just your casual photographers, but for your pro raw shooters. That'll make its way into pro raw as well. No mention of pro raw this year, or God raw as I called it in my video last year. The best thing since penicillin, according to photography Twitter. Any other thoughts on the HDR4 or any ultra wide? Because I'm dying to talk about my get in the bin, shut the front door feature.
Okay. They seem to just dismiss anything that they brought out last year. So rather than repeat it, they just basically covered, I guess, the new stuff. So,
yeah.
I think big improvement on the ultra wide. The jury's out on whether that's going to be the case for the telephoto, in my opinion. But I guess the cinematic video was pretty huge. But Dave, you got any thoughts?
Well,
David at it.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that we were wondering about last year, they do specifically says, and now telephoto has night mode. So they're calling that out as new for this year. So,
okay, maybe it was the ultra wide that had night mode, and
well, no, I think only the wide did. I think
no, actually, now that I remember, I've just made a video about Apple's ultra wide versus Moments ultra wide, and I was using night mode in the ultra wide lens. I've just remembered.
Okay, so it must have been the telephoto that didn't have it.
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of 92% more light on the ultra wide, which that's mammoth. That's mammoth.
I think they all had it last year because I just held my phone down, like kind of looking underneath my desk where it's darker, and night mode is on all of them.
Okay.
Huh? But
it's kind of weird. They said it like that way then.
Yeah.
Of course, in marketing team, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So what's your shut the front door?
Oh my God. David? Oh, this photography styles. I don't mind, right? But she specifically said, this is for pros. Pros are going to love this. Like, are you that out of touch? Like, where's Phil Schiller? Right, get him back in, because it's clear he's not been in the picture for the last couple of years. He was the photography guy at Apple, and you could tell he loved photography. Ever since he's been an Apple fellow or whatever it is, and he's not been involved as much. I don't know what's been going on.
He's looking after the App Store.
This is he. This photography styles. It's contrast, vibrant. I understand it's a little bit more intelligent than just slapping a filter on it, because it's got probably some semantic segmentation, stuff like that. Like for pros, really, pros are going to be wanting to use this? Are you mad?
Unless they meant for the pro cameras, like the pro phones.
Yeah. I mean, I can see this for the more advanced amateurs. Saying, I want a little extra, grading on this, and I want a little this, and I want to set it as a preset. I can see that. But if you're a pro, you're not using, unless you're going to put something just like on Instagram and just as a quick and easy edit. But if you're doing this for pro, you're going to do it in RAW. You're going to download it. You're going to use, You're not going to use this for pros. No, I agree. Yeah. So saying this is for pros. I mean, I like the fact that, it's like, oh, this is the sky. So even though you want to boost it, we're just not going to make it look goofy.
Yeah.
Boosting it so much. Or, oh, that's someone's face. Like sometimes when I boost things, and I do it with my, my camera's old, and you boost the front camera and all of a sudden your face is red.
Yeah.
Because it boosts everything. It doesn't say, but supposedly now it's like, oh, that's skin. Therefore, we're not going to touch that. And we're going to do the other things. And, it's going to do it intelligently. But to say pro level, unless you can say, well, we'll make it pro-like, we'll give you the thing. But yeah, when they say the pros will love this, I'm like, no.
No.
No, I'm agreeing with you there. That's over the top.
Yeah, you can just delete that bit of the keynote. Yeah. That was a waste of time. I was going to say something else as well about, I can't remember. Someone else speak, and I'll remember what I was going to say.
One thing that I noticed that some people were looking for, and Shane Mostyn being one of them, was the excuse me, the astrophotography abilities. So they did show one quick slide of a Milky Way shot, and it was basically, they were talking about, I don't know, the improvements in the camera and going to be able to give you a better night photo when on a tripod. It'd be interesting to see how that improves. I'm sure Shane will get one, and he'll be able to test that out for us. But
that's what I was going to say. They got Catherine Bigelow in to shoot some film, and credit to him. Like, I remember when the iPhone 11 Pro came out, and their example of what could be done, it looked incredible. It looked like it was a Hollywood production. And now the 12 Pro and this year the 13 Pro, they actually look like they were shot on phones, which, fair enough. But Catherine Bigelow was going on about how this might change the game for Hollywood filmmakers, and it's like a revolution, as if there's not already a complete genre of a complete group of, or community, if you like, of iPhone filmmakers. There's loads of them. It's massive, and there's they have their own festivals and awards and everything. And she's acting like it's just, with this year with the 13, it's brand new. Really, yeah. It just makes them seem so out of touch with the pro audience, or the pros who are going to want this phone.
Yeah,
just little lines like that. I could be reading too much into it, but it's just a little. I'm so detail oriented, and when you just say things like that, I can't let it go. Maybe I should just be like, chill out a bit, Dave.
Yeah, it's they're going to try to make it sound, put as much hype into it as they can. So I guess that's how they do it. But
ProRes video sounds pretty cool. That's the deep fusion of this year. That's the coming later this year feature. That should be pretty cool. Be keen to see how battery life lasts when you're shooting that. 4K 30 frames per second in ProRes. And you'll need that 1 terabyte storage option for that, I'll tell you now.
Yeah, I was just going to say they got the 128, 256, 512, and now 1 terabyte. And I know Jack Hollingsworth has been just crying for that with all the photos he takes with an iPhone. So he'll be happy about that. Price changes? No, not on the Pros this year. They start at $999 US, and for the Pro, and for the Max starts at $1099 US. So, good on Apple to be able to keep the price the same, when going up to another. I don't know if they stayed the same from the 11s to the 12s though, but
I want to say there was a bump up. There was a bump up there.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, there was a bump up, if I remember correctly.
Well, kudos to them for being able to keep it the same anyway. Now, I don't know about
however, US, the 1 terabyte is $15.99.
Yeah, see, that's what I paid. I think it was $15.99 Canadian for my 256 gigabyte 12 Pro Max last year. And then when you had all the taxes and stuff on it, I mean, I forget what it was. I think all told, I think it was around 1,900 Canadian. Brutal.
Wow.
So that's why I'm not upgrading this year. That's another reason. Is it's just the pricing is just crazy for us in Canada.
Yeah, I'm only getting one because of my YouTube channel. That's the only reason. I don't really have much of an interest in this one, to be honest.
Well, when you're done with it, I'll pay for the shipping.
We've got a nice little system going now in my house. My wife will get my 12 Pro, which is here, and nice moment case on there, and I'll be getting the 13 Pro, and then it'll just continue like that, which I hate. I hate that. You know, it goes against most of my values and how I like to live. But hey, do it for the content, as the YouTubers say.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts, guys, on these phones and the cameras and whatnot?
Like I said, except for the telephoto, which I don't want to say negative without seeing it. It's an S here. It's a nice little bump up. I would say if you have a 12, unless you need it, for a job, or if you're just a completist that want all the phones and you have all the money, there's no reason to get it.
Yeah. How about you, Mr. David?
No, yeah, I agree with everything that you've just said. I just that 1.5 aperture, 1.9 micron pixels for me. That's what I'm looking forward to. I want a. Did they mention the size of the sensor? They've increased the pixel pitch. That's what those microns means. That's the distance between the center of the pixels. So they may have increased the sensor size if they've been able to do
the physical size, I'm sure, will be a little bigger, but the megapixel count will be the same. It'll still be 12 megapixel.
Yeah, but that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, because the physical size of the 12 Pro went up, on the wide camera, but the megapixel count obviously didn't change. So I think that's going to be the same this year. So, so final thoughts for me would be, I was right when it came to portrait mode video, but they call it cinematic mode. That's going to be very cool to see what people do with, and definitely a game changer when it comes to shooting video with an iPhone. And I think the other big thing for me was, again, with the telephoto, like Dave said, I should wait before I put judgment on whether that's a step back or not, just because, even though the smaller aperture, well, maybe with the processing and all that stuff, and maybe they will be able to pull it off and make it look really, really good. And with the 3x zoom, I mean, that's even better. That's the best zoom they've put in yet, or the best telephoto that they've put in an iPhone yet. So it'll be interesting to see how they look and all that stuff. So, well, I think that just about covers the iPhone part of the keynote. And I got a 12 Pro Max, and I won't be upgrading. Not this year, anyway. It's just not worth all the dollars that it would take, and for what I would get for my 12 Pro Max, I don't know. I would probably want to keep it. So I don't know. I've got 2 iPhones now. I don't need any more. But I was just looking at my notes here. I don't think there's excuse me. I don't think there's anything else I can mention as far as a last word on it. So I guess that's it. I guess we got ourselves a show. Dave Podner, where can they all find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as ProfPod, and on the iPhoneography Facebook group is Dave Podner Jr.
And David Addison, how about you?
Yeah, just put David Addison into the YouTube. Everywhere else, leave me alone.
Okay, and you can find me on Instagram at Macmillan Photo, Twitter Macmillan_photo, and anywhere else you want to find me, it's about.me/Macmillan. That's all my online links and whatnot. So, well, thanks guys for coming on right after the keynote. we didn't record last night for our regular show because we were going to come on today. So we thought, well, we'll just wait for today, and then we're going to try to get this out as quick as we can. So let everybody know what we thought about it anyway, and whether that means anything or not. But I guess that's it. I should have said maybe at the beginning, it's Tuesday, September 14th, and that's the day of the big keynote or the presentation for the new Apple stuff for this September. I think next month they're going to talk about Mac and who knows what else. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, that's probably when it's going to be. So thanks for listening, and thanks for playing along, and we'll see you on the next one.